Hello everyone, I'm Steve. I'm here to give you a Watchmen update. Now, I did a video, I think last fall, on the role of the Watchmen, and as you're watching, I think we're getting a little bit of rain. There's only supposed to be a 3% chance. It's supposed to start at 3 o'clock today. Maybe it's snow. I'm not worried. This is a GoPro. It is waterproof, and I don't think it's going to rain much. But anyways, I'm doing a Watchmen update, and like I said, last fall I did a Watchmen video describing the role of the Watchman and his responsibilities, or her. If you want to see that video, you can find it here. Now, I'm not going to call this, I've had prophecy updates, prophecy alerts. I'm not going to call this a prophecy update or a prophecy alert because the events that I think are coming have not come. So this is a Watchmen update pointing to possible fulfillment of prophecy. Now, I've done a few videos in the past where I have shared some of Amir's videos on my own videos, and I'm going to be doing that today. If you have seen the last two updates by Amir, you might even want to bypass this because you're going to know what I'm going to be discussing today. But some people don't watch him, or only watch him irregularly, or some people might not watch all what he has because sometimes he bloats his messages and repeats his messages. So what I do is I edit them so you don't have to see all the fluff. I'm going to do it again. I'm going to be showing two of his videos in this video. The first video of his was 2 weeks ago or so, okay, and it was like 50 minutes, 49 minutes, somewhere almost an hour long. I cut that down to less than 15 minutes, and then within the last week he did another one. That one I think was 27 minutes, and I think I cut that down to about 9 or 10 minutes. So this whole thing will probably be about 30 minutes, okay, including what I have to say, and I'm not going to share a lot. I think that what he has discussed in these events, possible events, is going to trigger prophecy very, very soon. I think what is going to happen will trigger the Isaiah 17:1. I think that's the correct scripture. I'll put it on the screen. It is the destruction of Damascus. And that, most of us who study prophecy think the Isaiah 17:1, again, if that's the correct verse, will lead to the Ezekiel 38 war. Now, I do have a video on Ezekiel 38 war. I am considering remaking it. It is older. I still think it's relevant, and I think I did a good job on it, although the video quality itself is probably not the best. I didn't do green screen effects. I just had a sheet behind me. But I think it's a great video, so I'm not sure if I'm going to replace it or not because I think it does well on its own still. And if you want to know more about the Ezekiel 38 war and its end times effects, see that video here. Now, I will link to both of Amir's videos if you want to see the full thing. I think it's right for me to do that because, you know, it's his video and you should have access to the full thing, and I will definitely link to that. I'll link to the first one here, okay? Again, I'll share about 15 minutes of it, and it's about a 50-minute video. Again, I will have 14, less than 15, somewhere between 14 and 15 minutes of it. And then afterwards, there'll be like a 3-second break, and I'll start the second video, okay? And I'll link to that as well, probably in the middle of the video, right before that starts, during that 3-second period there. Click on that if you want to see the whole thing. So I think the events leading to these end time is going to happen. Israel feels threatened that Iran is probably going to attack Israel. I'm not going to repeat all that. I'm just going to let you watch what he has to say on it. I think it's an intense situation. Once in a while, Amir does jump the gun. I'll say briefly here that that he, in his first video, he seemed to point towards this attack happening during the Islamic holiday that's 1 month old, and that Islamic holiday, 1 month long, is about to, it might either have ended or is about to end this weekend, something like that. But Israel is coming out of its own holidays and will be available to take care of a preemptive attack. All right, that's enough for me. If you want to see a second video, I'll link to it here, I guess. All right, you're not going to see any more. Although, if you're interested, I will be doing a walk in the Spirit in response to these events, which I'm about to record. So I'll see you in my next video. Please watch this video if you want to see the details of the Watchman update I'm sharing here, why I'm creating this video, because I think these things are important and will happen soon. God bless. We'll see you soon, Lord willing, if I'm not raptured. If we're not raptured, if I'm not censored. Again, I'm going to have about 27 minutes of Amir. God bless. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.
I'm going to start by saying this. Over the last, look, I'm 50 years old, okay? I never, ever in my entire life have seen anything like this. And I'm not talking about the conflict within Israel necessarily. This is something that it'll take time to heal from, if ever. I'm talking about the level of threat that Israel is facing right now, which is more than anything we've ever had since the birth of this nation in 1948. And let me now explain. When President Trump ordered the assassination of Qasem Soleimani, and that was, if I'm not mistaken, that was January of beginning of, January of 2020. It wasn't for nothing. This man was the general, which is the head of the Al-Quds force of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. So for some of you don't know, when Ayatollah Khomeini took over in February of 1979 and established the Islamic Republic of Iran, he didn't trust the police and the military that existed in Iran. So he created an alternative, parallel military and police forces. The military force that he created is the Iranian Revolutionary Guards Corps. And one of the units of that, Islamic answer to the regular Iranian forces, one of its unit was the Al-Quds force, which its intention or its order or its vision was to spread the Shiite vision around the world, but more so to prepare the Middle East for two things. One, the destruction of Israel, and two, eventually the takeover of the Shiites, of the holy sites of the Muslims, and to establish a Shiite caliphate, headed by Iran, of course. So what is the best thing to do? And that was the job of Qasem Soleimani, creating proxies all around the Middle East, especially around Israel, training them to do the job and have them wait for the day the command will be given to use everything they've learned and everything they have against Israel. But they will put everything they have, everything, all the resources they can get. And this is why we've warned the world not to lift the sanctions, because that will unfreeze billions, and that will be used for one sole purpose, which is against Israel. Sure enough, the Biden administration lifted up sanctions the minute it was elected, and Iran is much stronger today. Iran is so strong today that it is becoming an international player in even wars that is not around it, such as the one in the Ukraine. Now, let me explain what we know. I would like to read to you something It's going to sound very depressing, but wait until the end to go to the Word of God, okay? Because otherwise, you missed out this whole update, okay? Okay, this, I'm going to read to you something that the entire nation of Israel is now busy with, because this article was everywhere. But allow me to read to you something, okay? So Dr. Kedar said, an expatriate from the Middle East, a supporter of Israel, who lives in Europe and is in constant contact with people in Iran and Iraq, conveyed to me their assessment that Iran is planning to launch a combined attack on Israel in their foreseeable future. And we'll talk about the Ramadan. There's only 10 days left for the Ramadan. And watch this. In the foreseeable future, that will include all the forces at its disposal in the Arab countries. In Lebanon, Hezbollah and Hamas, with many thousands of missiles and UAVs, some of them accurate. In Syria, 17 combat units, the militias, armed and ready, the Fatimiyun, the Zinabiyun, the Nujabha, the Nujabha, the Hezbollah, the Abu Ali Fachal Brigade. It's just all of them. Then he said Iran has transferred to Syria on a very large number of missiles and UAVs, and these are ready to be launched. In Iraq, dozens of militias armed with missiles and UAVs. In Yemen, the Houthis, who have missiles and long-range UAVs that reach Israel. And in Gaza, Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad with missiles capable of disabling the Israel Defense Force and Air Force bases. It is likely that Iran will not send anything from its territory to Israel in order not to expose itself to retaliation. What I just read to you is not the words of any Israeli. These are the words of experts from Iran and Iraq that are in the circles that understand what the Iranians are plotting. Okay, what Kedar just wrote. Then Kedar went on and wrote his own commentary. It's too scary to read, so I will only tell you the first part, which will connect it to the Ramadan and to the Temple Mount, and will explain to you why, of all times, this is the time that they're planning on doing it. Under the pretext of the duty of the Muslim world to save the Al-Aqsa Mosque from the Israeli occupation and oppression, Iran will conduct a staged, comprehensive, integrated, and coordinated attack on Israel. The first phase will be a shower of missiles and UAVs from all the formations, arenas together that I mentioned before. And the Iranian estimate is that the stock of interceptors of the Iron Dome will run out within 2 or 3 hours from the start of their air attack, after which the Israeli skies will be open and the Air Force will be damaged and grounded. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing. Literally, the head of the military forces of Iran yesterday said, Israel is too small to be able to withhold such an attack. In other words, we're 26 times smaller than Ukraine. There's 250,000 missiles already aimed at Israel all around us. Every single day that our country exists is a miracle. And the Bible tells us, if it was not for the Lord, we would have been swallowed alive by our enemies. There's no doubt about that. Now, this article that was written by a very respected professor who understands the Islamic world better than any general in the Israeli or the American military. This article shook to its core everyone in Israel, because everyone understands, and trust me, I didn't read to you what is the next phase. I didn't read to you, apart from the shower of missiles and UAVs that they're planning much more than that. They're planning on using and operating every single proxy around and within Israel. Now, Israel has two options. And you have to understand, either we are preemptively acting, striking, paralyzing, and teaching a lesson, or we will have to find ourselves under an attack that has never, ever happened to Israel before in its history. The equivalence of the rockets and the UAVs, the suicide UAVs, is the equivalence of nuclear power. It's when it comes to the damage and to the amount of explosive. So unless Israel is initiating a preemptive strike, which I believe is in the works right now, because Israel understands there is no way we can wait for them to do that. Now, the head of the Al-Quds force, the one who replaced Qasem Soleimani, his name is Ismail Qaani. He is right now in Syria. He's in Syria. He is supervising what is going to happen from Syria. There are Iranian proxies in Syria, in Iraq, in Yemen, in Lebanon, and in Gaza, all around Israel. Now, make no mistake, it doesn't mean Lebanon goes to a war with Israel. It doesn't mean Syria goes to a war with Israel. It doesn't mean Jordan or Egypt goes to a war with Israel. No, they're not. It is terrorist militias that are plotting. All of them are supported by Iran, and all of them are operated and getting their orders from Iran. Okay? So you have to understand there is the obviously responsibility of the countries to stop them, but there's also the responsibility of the IDF to preemptively strike in order to disable them. Okay? And now I want to remind you all what the prophet Ezekiel, because I do believe we're at the eve of the Ezekiel war. I mean, I've been teaching that for 20 years, 30 years, but what we see on the ground now is that it could be sooner than we even think. I will continue to update you on Telegram. These are very tough times. I get more and more. I actually have more information on my phone that any agency around the world would want any civilian to have. And I can tell you, folks, that even here in Japan, there are things that are happening that, the China-Taiwan thing are affecting, you can Google and then find out. A few days ago, a Black Hawk helicopter of the Japanese military crashed. On board, there were 3 appointed generals there, newly appointed generals there. They haven't found everything yet, but apparently there was no SOS signal. Something was jammed over there. It was next to Okinawa, not too far. There is a lot of stuff going on all around Taiwan. This military exercise is the closest thing to a war that Taiwan has ever seen. Now, everybody's telling me, don't play into the CCP propaganda and don't talk about that. Well, I'm not talking about it. The whole world is talking about it. We're talking about over 90 aircrafts that are around Taiwan right now. I'm talking about aircraft carriers, and when I'm talking about submarines, I'm talking about maritime vessels. I'm talking about all the Chinese military bases aimed with their missiles towards Taiwan right now as we speak. This is not something that America can stop. America cannot stop it. America, by the way, will not stop it. President Macron said 2 days ago, it's time for us to not automatically stand on the US side. Everybody is now recalibrating, recalculating, reshuffling their foreign policies because of the weakness of America. We're going to talk about three topics, okay? Three topics, super, super, super important, okay? First topic, listen to this. First topic is that the Israeli foreign minister right now is in Azerbaijan, and he's about to fly to Turkmenistan to open its Israeli embassy. And we're talking about 15 miles away from Iran. The Israeli foreign minister is going to be there. Pay attention that unlike Iran, that is plotting with different proxies around Israel, Israel is actually creating relations with countries that are not just a proxy terrorist organization, countries with armies and infrastructure. So we're talking about something very, very important. And I'll show you a map in a few seconds so you can understand what is it that causes Iran not to sleep well at night. The Ramadan is coming to an end tomorrow, and then towards the next week we have the Memorial Day here in Israel for the fallen soldiers that will be followed by the Independence Day. And once we're done with both, Israel is no longer bound to any industrial quietness. I mean, we are free to do what we need to do because we will have all the time in the world to do it. Now, let me show you something very, very interesting. Okay, so also I want to share with you that over a week ago, Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina made it to the Saudi palace in Riyadh. And I'll tell you exactly what Lindsey Graham said and what MBS answered. We'll talk about it in a few seconds. But let me show you a map that might help you understand why the Iranians are more concerned than the Israelis about what can happen in the near future. Take a look at this. So remember, Israel just opened an embassy of Azerbaijan in Tel Aviv a few months ago. Israel is about to open today an embassy in Turkmenistan. So Azerbaijan, it's a Shiite Muslim country, and Turkmenistan. Take a look at this map, please. I want you to see. This is phenomenal. Take a look. So Azerbaijan, as you can see, is up above Tehran, above on the western part of the Caspian Sea. Turkmenistan is on the eastern part of the Caspian Sea. There are the Iraqis in northern Iraq, Kurdistan, where there is definitely Israeli presence there. We have peace with Bahrain and the United Arab Emirates. Oman allows us to fly above their territory. And if we will have any deal with Saudi Arabia, take a look at how Iran is actually surrounded and not as much Israel. See, Israel is surrounded by proxies. We're not surrounded by countries that wants to destroy us. We're surrounded by terrorist organization that wants to destroy us. It's Iran that operates there. Commander of the Iranian Revolutionary Guard just said today, he admitted, we are behind the rockets from Lebanon, Syria, and Gaza. The Iranians, they're using subcontractors. They're using Hamas here and Hezbollah there and the proxies in Syria. But it's Iran that is orchestrating. Iran is the only country in the Middle East that wants to destroy Israel. It uses proxies. It's not using countries. So don't mix Psalm 83 that speaks about countries, which I believe took place in 1948, with Ezekiel 38 that speaks about countries which will take place in the near future. So it's not like Israel is sitting there waiting for everybody to attack. No, we're working very, very hard. Now let me explain a little bit of what Lindsey Graham said and what he heard. He came and basically said to the Saudis, Guys, we are here still, your main friends in the world, and we want to also give you, we want to do business with you. We want to, we want to upgrade our relationship. But if you guys want to upgrade your relationship with us, you must help and you must be in peace with the Jewish state, with Israel. Watch this. Let me explain the three main points that the MBS told Lindsey Graham, in which, by the way, he took with him and came to Israel with. First of all, he said the following thing: Saudi Arabia wants some sort of a U.S. Security agreement. The U.S. will ensure Saudi Arabia's security. Give us some sort of an umbrella of NATO. That's the first thing. The second thing, free trade with America. America right now doesn't really need Saudi Arabia because America is exporting oil and gas. But Saudi Arabia wants business. And the third thing, ladies and gentlemen, is that the Saudis understand that they also need nuclear program. They want America to supply it and America to supervise it. Now, America knows if they're not going to do it, China, Russia, and Iran will gladly do it. Now, maybe Iran not, but China and Russia would. So you understand that it's within America's interest to be the one that builds it and supervise it. Think about it. The agreement between Saudi Arabia and Iran is not yet in effect. There's another couple of weeks, if I'm not mistaken. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to say is it's not black and white. It's not like either or. Every country is now recalculating its steps in light of the new situation that is going on in the Middle East. And it's important that you understand that. Okay, it's very important that you understand that. Now, I'm going to say this, folks. The next month is the most crucial and challenging month since the establishment of the State of Israel. I know it sounds bombastic. I'm not trying to sound bombastic or sensationalist, but I will tell you, everyone in Israel understands that, and the Iranians also understand that, and Hezbollah understands. They all understand that Israel, after the holidays, is free to strike if Israel decides it's time to do that. Lindsey Graham just said today, Lindsey Graham just tweeted, Israel will not allow Iran to build a nuclear bomb. And look what he said, and we are just around the corner from a military conflict in the region. What Lindsey Graham heard from Benjamin Netanyahu is simple. Either you stop them or I stop them, and it has to happen now, right now. So basically, the traveling of the Israeli foreign minister to Azerbaijan and Turkmenistan is part of the Israeli effort. Prime Minister traveled to Europe to prepare the European leaders for sanctions against Iran, and maybe even told them, if we are going to strike, you need to stay quiet because we're doing your job, basically. Iran is definitely threatening the whole world, including you, and will do the dirty business of taking care of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know a lot is going on around, behind the scenes, and in front of the cameras. But I need you to know it's not that Israel is sitting and waiting for the enemies to attack. A lot is going on right now. Iran understands that it is going to be surrounded. Let me again show you. First of all, that's Lindsey Graham visiting Mohammed bin Salman about 9 days ago. Folks, tons of stuff, amazing development in Sudan, in Turkmenistan, in Azerbaijan, and of course in Lebanon and Syria. All of that is going on behind the scenes, in front of cameras, and we're expecting the next month to be very, very, very crucial and challenging on all levels. And remember again, the reason why it's important that you understand that we're not watching Psalm 83 being fulfilled. This psalm was fulfilled in 1948 when all those countries that that psalm describes came against Israel when Israel was just declared a state. They wanted to cut us off from being a nation, that the name of Israel will be remembered no more, because the name of Israel was just declared on May 14. This time it's only Iran. Iran is the country, and Iran is not Elam. Make no mistake, the prophecy of Elam has been fulfilled. That place has been destroyed, and it's gone. Elam was an ancient kingdom of a small portion of Iran of today. The prophecy regarding Iran is called Persia. It's Ezekiel 38. It's definitely around the corner. Now, I will say this, don't be too much impressed with the Saudi-Iranian deal, only because I'll tell you this. If there is one thing that the Iranians hate more than Israel, is they hate the Saudis. And there's one thing the Sunni Muslims hate more than Israel, is the Shiite Muslims. Make no mistake, there is zero trust between the two. And that's why Saudi is not in the pocket of Iran. They wanted a quiet border with the Houthis, and that's what they got now. They wanted good business with China, and that's what they got now. So the Saudis are very smart to cut their coupon with, the things that they care about. But at the same time, if it comes, I don't think they'll hesitate to have a normalization and deal with Israel, simply because it'll serve their interests.